students, welcome to Scholar IAS Current Affairs classes. Hope you are all set. Let's begin the class. So the first article is on Science Hub. This is related to your GS4 ethics paper. Not often we get articles on ethics paper. So pay keen attention to this article and make note of all the important points. First, let's see what is in the news. So the news is about some scientific publishers. Okay, scientific publishers are those who actually publish the scientific literatures. Okay, like American Chemical Society, Wheely, and etc. They have filed a suit against Science Hub. Okay, so this is what the news is about. Now let's try to understand what is Science Hub. So Science website is a pirate website. Okay, so similar to torrents that we have for downloading movies and everything, this pirate website is for accessing. This website actually makes millions of research papers accessible for the public. Okay, that's what this website does, and it's a pirated version. Okay, and it has actually made scientific literature accessible for journalists and public without having to navigate through institutional virtual private networks. Why people actually access scientific literature through pirated websites is that these scientific literatures are often made accessible for a heavy charges. I mean, you can access these literatures only after paying hefty amount to the publishers. So if you observe, this Science Hub actually makes everything easier and open for anyone who wants to access scientific literature. So that is why the scientific literature publishers like Elsewhere, Weasley, and American Chemical Society, they have filed a suit against this Science Hub. Okay, now let's see how actually this publishing of scientific works happen. Okay, normally a scientist actually works on a particular research, and when he works on it, he is getting paid by the institutions they are associated with, and these institutions provide payment through in the form of research grants. And these research grants mostly come from various organizations that these institutions are associated with, but mostly it happens from the government. Let's say if you are undertaking a research in IITs, then the government would have allocated some amount for research work for those institute. IIM, let's say IIT Bombay or something, they would have allocated so and so amount of money for research work, research related activities, and out of that amount the institution will give, based on the merit of the research that is being undertaken, they would give some grant to that scientist who is undertaking it. And once that scientist has completed his research and comes out with a research paper, it is sent for peer review. Okay, so peer review is nothing but other scientists in that field actually review that particular research work, and if it is being okayed by the other scientist, then the publisher, whoever the publisher is, they would take that journal, they would get the copyright from that particular scientist, and they will publish it to the people who are actually interested to purchase it. So this is how normally it works, but here there are certain ethical issues involved. Let's see one by one which are the ethical issues. So the first one is that the authors and the reviewers, both the scientists, both are the scientists, reviewers as well as the authors or scientists, both are not getting paid for their work, because even the payment that they are getting is only for the research activity. To undertake that research activity, they are getting paid through research grants, but they themselves don't get paid as a proper salary, or they don't get any proper salary or assets for their work. And also the publishers who actually get the copyrights from the scientists who are working on it, they are not contributing anything to the research, but still these publishers get the copyrights and sell it. Okay, so this is a contradicting thing, because they are just publishers and they are not giving any input to the research as it is. And as most of the research are sponsored by the government, the taxpayers are already paying for that particular work. Let's say if a particular work has been, let's say there is a research work on Wi-Fi or 5G network or anything, and already the government has paid for that research work. Government pays through what? Our money, that is tax money. And so each individual, each citizen is already paid for that work, directly or indirectly. So when the publisher gets the same research work and gives it out, the same citizen is asked to pay again. Okay, so this is almost like a you are paying again and again for the same work. And then the final thing is, publishers also charge libraries exorbitant amounts, because we can say that why not we go and access the library to know about the research work, but it is not that easy, because even the libraries will have to pay for those research work. So what happens, it restricts the libraries from actually buying those rights from the publishers. So these journals, I mean subscription of the journals from these publishers is very hefty. So it restricts the access to these works to the citizens as well. Now because these publishers charge hefty amount for subscription in the form of journal subscriptions, and because there is another player into the pirated version of it is available in the form of Science Hub, there has been certain reaction from different sections of the society. The first important section that gets affected because of scientific journals is the universities. Okay, so many top universities have actually, and that too from different countries, have actually cancelled subscriptions to these publishers. Why? Because they have a other alternative, that is a pirated alternative, which is accessible for free, and they don't have to pay hefty amounts to these publishers. And secondly, the government, just because, as I mentioned before, just because each citizen is made to pay twice for the same research work, the government is considering a one nation one subscription system. Okay, so under this, the scientific publishers, okay, they would be made to make the entire content available to all readers in India for a fee paid by the government. So the government will actually pay the publishers, and so that it would be made accessible by anyone in India. Okay, so the government will take up the burden of paying the publishers. So this is what the reaction has been. Now what is the alternative to it? What, as it is, what proactive step the publishers have to take up? So the first thing that they have to do is they have to reform voluntarily. The main reason people support such sort of form of pirated works is that because these publishers take control over the whole sector, the whole literature area, and they control the accessibility to these scientific literatures that are important for the development of the universities as well as the research work. So to prevent such mushrooming of such pirated science hub as well as similar networks, the publishers have to voluntarily reform themselves and put in a policy that is more clear and as well as more appropriate. So students, this is all about this Science Hub article. This is an, as you would have observed, this is altogether a different article from the regular articles. So make a note of it. It has more relevance in your GS4 paper, and it has more weightage as well. It can even be asked in your ethics paper, and you can use many of these points in your paper as well. Okay, so make a note of them, keep it in an organized fashion, and use it in your minds. The next article is related to your world order. So this is related to your GS2 international relations paper. This article basically deals how the pandemic has actually changed the perception over the world order. Okay, that is what it is discussing about. So it states that the pandemic has actually challenged the existing world order and also exposed the uncertainty of the world order that would arise post pandemic. Now let's start with the background. The background in the sense pre-pandemic times, how the world order was actually perceived. Okay, so before the pandemic, it was thought that a sole superpower, okay, let it be USA or China, a sole superpower was considered enough to guide the world order, because that was the thing that was happening initially. Before pandemic, USA was considered the world order was regarded as a unipolar world order, and USA was at the top of it, and it was felt that one superpower would be enough to guide the whole world order. Also, it was believed that the economic globalization would generate social outcomes. So this is nothing but it is related to the globalization and liberalization aspect of it. Also, the trade and technology was expected to bring global coordination. because there is interdependence that happens based on any trade, because any trade that happens at international level, because after globalization the trade brought in interdependence, economic interdependence. So this would naturally bring in global coordination, and so that there would be a stable global order, world order. That was the thing that was expected. And also the multilateral institutions, and we know that let it be RCP, let it be World Bank, let it be IMF, they also were trying to work out a win-win outcome on for any issues. Okay, let it be the World Trade Organization regarding trade, or let it be the climate change related organizations, all were trying to make sure that both developed and developing, or even the LDCs, are in a win-win situation. Okay, that is what they were trying to do. And also any cold war, any form of cold war, I mean, we had Russia and USA had a cold war, we know that. So any such cold war would not arise again, because this was felt, because USA and China were the rising powers, and when that was felt, so it was felt that USA's power would be challenged by China. And but when this happened, when globalization happens, it was believed it would not be possible, because a sole superpower is enough to guide the whole world order. And on top of this, Chinese model of economy was believed to help the world actually, because China had an economy that was closed as well as open. I mean, like, it was partially open in the sense that they have a political system that is closed, but they have an open economy. So such sort of economy where, and also they made the whole China as a manufacturing hub because of cheap labor and policies that supported manufacturing hubs. So this sort of economic model was thought to help the world. And also China used trade and technology for geopolitical ends. So we know, just because of the dependence on trade and technology, they also were able to manage, they were also able to manipulate the global world order, as well as the geopolitical things that they actually wanted, the way they wanted it to happen. So in short, this was the situation overall before the pandemic. But after this pandemic came into picture, the whole perception of world order and the approach towards the world order has changed significantly. And one first aspect towards it is the perception towards China's influence in the world order. So the China's desire to use this moment to its advantage was realized. Every country realized how China is trying to extrapolate this vulnerable situation for its own benefits. And also because of this, many countries, we know that, let it be Australia, New Zealand, or let it be Japan, or even let's say USA, many countries, many European countries including, have tried to push China away, so that they can their dependence on China reduces. Their economic and technological dependence on China was realized heavily now, because the whole global supply chain was dependent on China's trade economy and China's technology to a great extent. So this also brought into this also made the countries recognize the inefficiencies in the global multilateral order. Though we kept saying that the world order is multilateral in the sense that there are many regional groupings that have been emerging, many regional players who have emerged, but China had its own say in everything, and this multilateral order was not enough to counter China. So this reality was recognized for the first time after the pandemic, and India's role in building a new world order and to counter Chinese aggression has been realized by many countries. So if you remember, 2 days back we read an article how where many European countries were trying to engage actively with India, so that the Chinese aggression can be countered. Okay, so India's role is very significant in the new world order that is rising. And even though India was not prepared to lead in the past, now it has the opportunity to do it. If it strengthens it in terms of, let it be the economy or strategically, or let it be the trade, whatever it is, India has the opportunity now, and India has to utilize it through proper policies and with proper relations with the countries. While a new world order without China is not altogether possible, a new world order with significant role of India is always possible. So India has to work towards it, and the pandemic has shown the support and has given the opportunity. So India has to utilize that. Students, I come to the end of the session. Hope this class was useful for you. For till next class, happy learning. See you. Bye bye.